Megyn Kelly just dropped a bombshell, and the internet is eating it up. She stared right into the lens and asked what everyone's been whispering. Is Meghan Markle really 44 or older? Feeds lit up in minutes. Clips, captions, receipts, and side-by-sides everywhere. A quiet conversation turned into a rumor storm, and a tiny line on a royal form suddenly carried headline weight. Here's exactly how it blew up. Start with the part nobody clicks, but everybody needs. The record. Reputable references list August 4th, 1981 as Meghan Markle's date of birth. That's the line on paper. It's been echoed for years across bios and profiles. Boring? Sure, but it's the anchor. Now layer Megyn Kelly's question on top. When a high-profile host says out loud what people are already DMing, the question doesn't sit, it travels. Put that next to a screenshot that looks official and a throwback that feels like a clue, and your brain starts connecting dots before you even decide if those dots belong together. The internet's favorite exhibit here isn't a birth year, it's a birth certificate. In 2019, a few weeks after her son Archie's certificate was filed, the entry that listed Rachel Meghan was updated to the formal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. On its face, that reads like palace style, title formatting, consistency, a bureaucratic tidy-up. But royal paperwork feels permanent, and knowing a line did change makes people tense. That tension is where rumors breathe. Not because the change proves anything about age, it doesn't, but because it makes people wonder what else can be edited. Set that feeling beside Kelly's on-air question and a small update starts looking like a smoking gun, even if the evidence says otherwise. Watch how it spreads. Someone trims Kelly's segment into a 10-second punch and posts it solo. Another account crops the certificate to the most dramatic lines and circles them. A college throwback of Meghan drops with a caption that hints more than it says. Then a compilation stitches the question, the screenshot, and the throwback into a 30-second timeline. None of that adds a new fact. It adds exposure. See the same angle 4 or 5 times in an hour and it feels familiar, and familiar feels true, even when nothing new was verified. Timing is the engine. That throwback? On a quiet week, it's nostalgia. The week Kelly trends, the same pixels read like context. Same pixels, different moment. That's how a normal yearbook or salsa club photo gets drafted into a detective board. A bold caption promises an answer, arrows point at faces and dates, and a picture of friends starts masquerading as a clue. When a Meghan court headline drops, filing, hearing, appeal, feeds tag it new. Kelly's clip resurfaces, the certificate crop returns, the throwback reappears. It looks like progress, but the record hasn't moved. 1981 stays on the books. The 2019 change was title formatting. Stack those beats and you get a loop. See the loop and you won't mistake timing for proof. So why does this hit so hard around Meghan Markle in particular? Because she's lived in two worlds that charge the same detail with different meaning. On the US side, there's the Suits fandom, the Oprah sit-down, and a post-royal media rollout. She's been a central character in American pop culture for years. On the royal side, details sit beside lineage and titles, things people expect to be recorded with precision. Put those together, and one number starts to feel bigger than it is. Question the number, and people start wondering if the story itself can be shaped. That's the pull keeping Kelly's clip in circulation. Not just what's the age, but whether the official version can bend. Now walk the blow up in real time, the way it actually lands on your phone. Morning. A short clip from Megyn Kelly's show hits your For You page. 10 seconds. Clean sentence. Strong delivery. It ends on a question, not an answer. You keep scrolling, but it sticks. Late morning. A screenshot of a document you've seen before appears again, but tighter. The crop is harsher. The formal title pops. Someone circled the line in red. The caption doesn't say proof. It says, "This detail explains a lot." You don't tap away, you zoom in. Afternoon. A college photo of Meghan Markle reappears with a date in the description. It's ordinary. Smiles, group pose, era hair, but the timing makes it feel like a breadcrumb. It's not new, it just looks new today. Evening. A headline about a court calendar pings your notifications. Different outlet, same timing. Now the platform groups those pieces together and recommends a compilation. It plays as one story, starting from question to screenshot to throwback, lastly making its way to a headline. Your brain says movement. The paperwork says no change. Night. Reaction creators stitch Kelly's clip with the crop and the photo, each adding a sentence that nudges you toward the same destination. This doesn't add up. You've now seen the same 3 items 5 different ways. The items didn't change. The sequence did. By the next day, the cycle is humming on its own. A new account posts the same screenshot. Another reaches for the same photo. A third quotes Kelly and asks the same question. It feels like everybody is talking about it because your feed thinks you want it. And you do, because the beats line up, and lined up beats feel like a reveal even when the record hasn't moved an inch. Let's slow the camera and look at what the screenshot actually shows. On the printed form, the mother's entry once included given names: Rachel, Meghan. The amended entry displays the formal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. That's the visible change. What didn't change is the thing people often assume did: the birth year cited for Meghan Markle in reputable references. Those remain 1981. The screenshot is about presentation. The rumors drag it toward identity. That jump is doing most of the work in this storyline. And that's why Megyn Kelly's sentence travels so far. She doesn't claim discovery. She frames a question that maps onto what viewers are already primed to notice: a visible change on a formal document and a public figure who draws intense interest. It's a tight match. It's also why this has staying power. The question is portable. The document is screenshotable. The image is familiar. The calendar keeps the surface lively. 4 simple ingredients, always in stock. Zoom out just enough to see how those ingredients get arranged around Meghan Markle, and only Meghan Markle. The same certificate crop doesn't travel if the name at the top isn't hers. The same throwback doesn't hit if the face isn't instantly recognizable. The same court headline doesn't refresh a topic if there isn't a large audience waiting to discuss it. This is why the rumor loop settles on her so easily. There's already a crowd watching the door. When Kelly knocks, the room fills instantly. Now, a clean walkthrough of what would count as actual movement in this story and what wouldn't. A new post that repeats the existing screenshot, not movement. A fresh caption on an old photo, not movement. A trending reaction that quotes Kelly's line, not movement. An official update to the record, a formal correction, a change to a referenced date on a credible profile, that would be movement. Everything else is sequencing. Compelling? Yes, but not the same thing as change. Why keep stressing that difference here? Because this storyline lives on the edge between documentation and interpretation, and Megyn Kelly sits right on that edge. She's doing commentary, asking what many are thinking. And the moment she does, the internet supplies the pictures and the paperwork to match the mood. That's the dance. It feels decisive. It's often just coordinated timing. You can see the same choreography in how language shifts across posts. One account writes, update. Another writes, edit. A third writes, change. Those words feel identical in the scroll, but they point to very different things. An update can mean fresh reporting. An edit can mean formatting. A change can mean almost anything at all. Put any of them above the same screenshot and the implication expands even if the underlying item doesn't. The wording does the lifting. The image carries the lift. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's public timeline has been mapped for years. Whatever you think about the coverage, the anchor date that reputable sources cite isn't moving. That's why this keeps landing as speculation rather than revision. The spectacle is loud. The record is quiet. Loud wins your attention. Quiet wins your rewatch when the hype fades. And because the quiet part is simple, 1981 on the books, title formatting in 2019. The long view tends to land in the same spot each time this comes around. There's another reason this sticks: contrast. A polished public brand versus a visible tweak on a formal document. When you place those side by side, your brain hears a chord that sounds like inconsistency, even when the two items don't actually contradict. The brand says precision, the tweak says adjustment. Put them together, and you get curiosity. That's not a scandal by itself. It's simply how attention works when a famous name is attached. And with Megyn Kelly in the frame, the chord gets louder. Her audience expects her to ask pointed questions. The broader internet knows her lines will be succinct. That makes her a perfect spark for a conversation that's waiting for a reason to restart. She provides the sentence, the feed supplies the props, the day's headlines supply the oxygen. By nightfall, it looks like a surge. In practice, it's a rerun with better timing. If you've wondered why the throwbacks always seem to land on the same day as the big clip, it's usually this simple. Those photos are always around. They just don't trend until a question gives them a job. The moment Kelly asks out loud, accounts with archives scroll their camera rolls, then pick the image that best fits and push it into the lane. The picture looks persuasive because the caption aims it. Without the caption, it's just a memory. It's worth laying out a compact if this, then that for this exact storyline so you can keep your footing the next time it cycles. If you see Megyn Kelly's question, then expect the certificate crop to reappear within hours. If the crop is trending, then expect a college throwback to land with a context caption. If both are trending, then expect a court-related headline to refresh the feed and re-recommend older takes. If all three show up, then assume sequencing, not a new document, made it feel like progress. Run that checklist in 10 seconds and the loop loses its teeth. You can still enjoy the show without mistaking the set for a verdict. Back to Megyn Kelly and Meghan Markle, because this is their headline, not a generic media lecture. Kelly's strength is delivery, plain sentence, clean question, high recall. Markle's reality is documentation, a long-established birth year, and a highly scrutinized paper trail. Those two things can coexist without exploding into accusation. You can acknowledge Kelly's reach and keep Markle's record straight. That balance is exactly where this video lives. Let's also talk stakes, because that's what pushes views. Why do people care whether the number is debated at all? Because numbers feel like rules. In Hollywood, numbers can decide roles. In royalty, numbers sit next to heritage and titles. When a number looks flexible, even for formatting, people wonder who holds the pen. That's the broader tension running under this. Not what's the number, but who gets to define the official version when the spotlight is on. Put that tension next to Kelly's microphone and you've got a conversation that can run for days. And yes, this can loop again. It usually does. A new clip from a talk show references the debate. A magazine runs a headline that packages the question for a new audience. A fan account posts a carousel that mixes the certificate crop with unrelated photos for aesthetic effect. A late-night segment cites the buzz and plays the clip again. All of that looks like expansion. Most of it is redistribution. The center stays the same: Kelly's line, Markle's record, the 2019 title formatting, and a set of throwbacks that change meaning depending on the week. If you're listening closely, you've probably noticed this video hasn't promised a grand reveal at minute 10. That's intentional. The reveal in this story isn't a new document. It's the map of how the same few items keep getting arranged to look like movement. Once you have the map, the next surge is less confusing. You'll see the timing and say, right, that sequence again. It won't feel like a wave crashing. It'll feel like a tide changing. Big difference. A quick recenter before we close. For the record, Meghan Markle is widely cited with a 1981 birth year. The document tweak in 2019, the mother's entry on Archie's certificate displayed title formatting. The spark, Megyn Kelly voiced a question many were already passing around. The props, a recycled certificate crop, and a familiar throwback photo. The oxygen that feeds the flame. A court headline that refreshed the feed. That's the set. The show is how those pieces get shuffled whenever Kelly drops a line that sticks. So to sum it all up, the record hasn't moved. 1981 stands. And the 2019 line was title formatting. If a Megyn Court headline pings your feed, that's a timestamp, not a twist. Don't mistake louder for newer. So where do Megyn Kelly and Meghan Markle land after all this? Kelly asked a line built to travel, and it did. Markle's official anchor remains what credible references have long said it is. The noise rises and falls. The baseline holds. If you can hear the difference between volume and movement, you're already ahead of the feed. All right, what do y'all think? Did Kelly's framing change how you read the paperwork around Markle? Or did it mostly spotlight how timing turns ordinary details into headline fuel? Drop your opinion in the comments, and I'll pin a standout take. If you're into breakdowns that keep the tea hot and the facts straight, hit that like button so this reaches people who hate being duped. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Curiosity brought you here. Clarity will keep you coming back.